watching World at War with Dean Ryan, weeknights 10 p.m. Eastern, only on Real Deal Media.
All right. We are live. Exciting. Welcome, everybody, to Real Deal Media's World at War, the #1 late night shadow band show, all of the galaxy. I am your late night host here, Dean Ryan, who is broadcasting for all of you tonight in what may appear as Burning Man, but that will come into play a little later tonight as, the festival is on in the midst of a huge dust storm. Is the talk of the town. It is really just salacious and ravishing altogether, as well as some of the western parts of the U.S. that's now enduring this as well. It's just incredible. So we have a special weather forecast report tonight. You're going to see here that's really going to lay down the foundation of what's happening over there. But tonight's episode is just that Israelis down under. Burning Man edition, yes. Just when you thought the albino rhinos were rare, well, we now discovered the Mossad, Israel's favorite house band, is now in Australia. And I jumped at the just opportunity to really headline a story for Australia. It's been a while. So we're going to be talking about that. There's a lot of chaotic things, but you can hear the drums of war get beat a little louder each and every day in stealth. And definitely Australia has picked up the drumming sticks to do so. They're going to be leading the way. You'll know more about that here in the second half. That's as our lead story. As well as, look, it is a slow, I got to be honest with everybody. It is a slow news week. which is incredibly hard for some who, live and die by the news weeks and don't know how to maneuver. But it really is. And I want to think I'm not crazy in that we're seeing a lot of recycled stories, or people are trying to, they're trying to extract as much as they can from this one story and recycle it over and over. And I'm wondering if there is a clampdown on information coming out, because the media is changing, as we know, but it is bizarre. I mean, the news should be ablazing right now with everything happening at the border with Mexico, everything happening over there in Venezuela, and you bet everything about to happen with Iran. But you'd be lucky to hear a peep. You'd be lucky to hear that. But nonetheless, we're going to be talking about things that are more than peeps. There's a new parasite you need to know about. I want to tell you about that. We have a new judgment, I should say, ruling in the alligator Alcatraz. Yeah, that's going to be stunning. I'm going to give you an update on World War III, but I'm happy to announce that our dear leader, Kim Jong-un, is back. And when I heard that, I said, I've got to do a show tonight. There's no way I can't. So that's exciting. We're going to hear about that, get into that, as well as a little bit of some real deal politics. But international is where we're going to thrive as we go down under. And once we do, we're going to stick in the Commonwealth and head to UK as some new salacious, sordid details about Prince Andrew is now coming out. We have a few Epstein stories that's going to rock your world and mine all over again. As well, some great news coming out of Maha. Yes, it is. I'm proud to announce that. And some things that you need to know about extending your life in particular, where you're living and what you're living next to or close to in that case. And I'll give you a hint, it's the ocean. So we'll touch upon that. Space of the place and some Burning Man, just weird things happening over there at the Orgy Dome, they call it, or dorm, depending. We'll be touching upon that. And I might even open the lines, even though nobody calls anyway. It doesn't matter, because you just feel the Labor Day weekend is upon us. And everybody is, they've gone hiking or they've gone to the beach that early. So let's get started with a few headlines from around the world and in your neck of the woods, shall we? Real deal headlines, just the way we like it. Let's talk about it now. We first start off, as I was teasing earlier, and now we're capitalizing now, as Phoenix. Phoenix is now enduring massive dust storms as it's now getting slammed by them, causing damage, airport delays, power outages in that whole region too. It goes into Nevada, into the festival right now. And if you recall, it was just around this time a year ago, we talked about the dust plume, I believe it was. Yeah, not that long ago, but could be ages ago. Well, now what has been described as a towering wall of dust, known as the meteorologists call it as the haboob. Yes, the haboob swallowed parts of the Metro Phoenix Monday evening, plunging the city into a near zero visibility. Yeah, that's true. And I must say, I've lived through those things and a monsoon. And I'm still alive to talk about it. Well, the dust storm was quickly followed by severe thunderstorms that's now going further into the west that tore through the city, leaving behind downed trees, wind damage, widespread power outages, and which is crucial because right now in Phoenix, it's roughly triple digits. Now, the National Weather Service over there in Phoenix issued both a dust storm and severe thunderstorm warnings as system pushed into Maricopa County Monday evening. Now, the Weather Service warned drivers of dangerously low visibility and urged people to pull aside and stay alive. But a lot of people are staying alive because nobody's going outside. So it is quite the feat once again as the dust plume lives on. But this is also going to drive the western wildfires, as you know, in California, as California, in particular, LA County, they're striving to be the top 10, or to make the top 10, or at least be considered as the new smart cities going into the future. For now, currently, they're not even in the top 15. So there's how that one goes. Moving on now. Well, that brings us to this. Welcome to the United States, a guide for new immigrants. No, I'm not working for the Customs or Border Patrol. I'm telling you, this is something much different, as now a sweeping visa review is now underway. It now places 55 million under scrutiny in unprecedented security move, which virtually everything is unprecedented security moves these days. Well, now the Trump administration has initiated the rescreening of all 55 million valid visas, U.S. visas here, marking the most aggressive visa enforcement action in modern history, placing millions of foreign nationals under continuous review. Well, a new policy of the continuous vetting is the cornerstone, meaning visas are no longer static, but are perpetually scrutinized using law enforcement data and new information, anything they can get their hands on. Now, the policy is immediate and severe consequences for key groups, particularly foreign students and skilled workers who face swift expulsion and visa revocation for violations like unauthorized work or dropping out of school. In closing, the action addresses the long-ignored problem of visa overstays, acknowledgement that enforcement must be a two-front battle that focuses on both illegal border crossings and those who enter the United States and remain illegally. Yes, apparently a lot of people have never heard of 90-Day Fiancé. That's what it's all about. So I suggest they discover what that means. Continuing now. Well, now something is shutting down. Yes, it is. Sad to say, the family fun zone is, well, it's becoming a thing of the past. Could it be saved? Will there be a part 2 after the summer? To be continued. Well, in this case, a federal judge says absolutely no. No, I don't think so. Over my dead body. Well, now the federal judge has now ordered partial shutdown of Florida's migrant detention facility, the Alligator Alcatraz, within 60 days. That's right. U.S. District Attorney over there, Judge Kathleen Williams issued a sweeping order halting operations over there in Florida's Alligator Alcatraz, a migrant detention facility, citing environmental damage, tribal access violations, and no available lawyers on call. Strange. Well, it's located in the Everglades. The camp houses migrants in tents surrounded by the chain link fences. Detainees reported extreme heat, faulty air conditioning, insects, infestations, maggot-ridden food, and also alligators with laser beams on their heads. Well, now William ordered the removal of fencing and infrastructure to restore the land access to a certain tribe that's local and nearby. Now, in closing, the ruling follows the June lawsuit filed by the environmental and tribal groups in the area, if you recall, which warned that the facility poses a threat to endangered species and the fragile Everglades ecosystem. So far, Governor Ron DeSantis vowed to continue operations despite the ruling, saying deportations are ongoing and nobody's going to stop them no matter what they do. And he begs them to try. Well, that's some tough talk there. That is some tough talk. Continuing on now. Well, this is something very just dastardly weird and gross. Well, but it's real and it's happening now and it's spreading fast, experts say, as now there's something called the screw worm. Yes, the screw worm. It is not just an old wives' tale. It's actually brand new and it's here to stay thus far. Well, let me tell you more about it now. It's a new parasite that's the talk of the town. Everybody's talking about it and everyone's trying to be friends with it until they find out it can kill you. Well, a tiny fly, no bigger than a housefly, lands on an open wound, for example, maybe a scratch, a surgical incision, maybe a razor shaving incident or accident, or even the moist crease of a newborn's navel. Well, within days, what starts as an itch becomes a writhing mass of larvae. Now, not to gross you out, but this is a problem now because people have called it the flesh-eating menace of old. Well, now there's a parasite, and they know exactly what this is. The threat of the New World screwworm. Yeah, screwing with everybody in the Northeast right now. A parasite so vicious it was once wiped out in America, only to slither its way back across the borders, inching closer to the U.S. soil with every passing month, as now it's on a reunion tour as we speak. So there it is. Now, the outbreaks have known to taken place in Mexico, and travelers unknowingly carry the parasite. Now, see, this is part of the problem of the invasion of the past couple of years. Now, here's some key points to take away and remember, and as you sleep with one eye open tonight, as a first of its kind human case of the New World screwworm has now been confirmed over there in Maryland, linked to the travel from El Salvador, proving the parasite is hitching rides into the United States. That's right. Well, the screwworm was eradicated in America by 1966, if you recall, through a groundbreaking sterile fly program. But outbreaks in Mexico, Central America, now threaten a costly, deadly resurgence. Now, it's worth noting, too, Texas is ground zero for concern. The economists warning a full-blown outbreak could wipe out $1.8 billion worth of livestock. Big time. Now, the natural prevention, they're saying, will obviously run the other way, but also, in addition to that, is the parasite cleanses could be critical for those in high-risk areas. So make sure you do that. And, borax, the whole thing, black walnut hull, wormwood, clove, pumpkin seeds, Damascus, earth, garlic, Oregon grapefruit, grapefruit seed extract, slippery elm bark, fasting and colon cleanses, and maybe even some myconites too, if you're lucky. So there's are a few remedies if you see the New World screwworm, and it is not a pretty sight. That is one ugly mother, you bet. Continuing now, there's now secret tapes that are looming and lurking to come around the corner for all of us to see, hear, and what have you. But they're also the ones on Pam Bondi's desk, supposedly. Well, get this now. Ghislaine Maxwell seems to be singing like a bird and talking like one, too. Oh, yes, this is a problem for those in the Trump administration, some might say. Well, now Ghislaine Maxwell told investigators that Epstein had secret, quote, tapes of both Trump and Bill Clinton. Now, the first thing that came to mind was hopefully not those two guys together. I was just thinking, hopefully that's not the tape because we can keep that a secret. That's perfectly fine. Well, now Ghislaine Maxwell, who is really no controversy away from Epstein and only a few degrees away from the Mossad. Well, she's now confirmed the existence of the secret videotapes of Donald Trump filmed by her former lover and alleged sex trafficker, Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah, well, he's not a sex trafficker. Apparently, that's what they told us. In fact, I don't even know why she's in jail. She could get the New World screwworm just being in that dirty facility. She's so innocent, we were told. Now, not to be left out, she also added some of the hidden tapes feature a young Bill Clinton as well. Yes, he does. A saxophone blowing Bill Clinton. Now, years before, Maxwell gushed over what a gentleman President Trump was in hopes of gaining parole from prison. She told a different story to one investigator. She said not that long ago that wrote about Epstein always talked about how he could trick Trump. Now, he also had a hunch that there was recordings that existed, Ghislaine said. Explained that during a conversation as of late. Many over there at 60 Minutes who are familiar with this convo said, quote, I want the tapes. Yes, it's a big commodity. Now, unfortunately for the journalist Ghislaine was talking to, it did not go much further than there, as she is currently actively looking for immunity in hopes of a fair trade deal to get out of her facility over there at Alcatraz and get out scot-free. So there you go. Secret tapes. There you have it. It never ceased to amaze me. So that's why we're going to go to World War III. Here we go. World War III. Let's talk about it. Let's be about it. Let's do everything under the sun now, as the UK is showing some strength now. They've been preparing for this for quite some time. Let me tell you a bit more about it now, as the Royal Air Force, the Royal Navy, all of them above, are now scrambling as we speak. They've scrambled jets in hunt for the Russian submarine after Vladimir's U-boat, quote, threatened U.S. aircraft carrier. I highly doubt it. I mean, it doesn't sound like they have a sense of humor, but we'll continue. Well, now Britain, America, and even, yes, Norway, the unsung, likely not even hero, just participant at this point, have launched a major hunt for a Russian submarine suspected of threatening a U.S. aircraft carrier. Yeah, well, we'd like to see the transcript of that. Well, this is how it all went down. Well, now a P-8A Poseidon flights over there in the Lossiemouth in Scotland. Well, now they have something to find just besides the Big Ben features over there. Or I'm sorry, the Loch Ness in that case. Well, the Norwegian Air Force launched 3 major events, military drills over there in the Evans Air Base near Narvik inside the Arctic Circle. While the United States Navy had to be there as well, used a base in Iceland, but the scale of the operation meant that they were reinforced by at least 2 U.S. Poseidons from Sicily. Yeah, the Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft are armed with a range of top secret sensors, torpedoes, missiles, and solar buoys. So secret, we can't even tell you, and we've already said too much, which they can drop into the ocean to listen to the sound of submarines as well as the sound of silence. Now, the defense source said that the mission was, quote, highly unusual surge. It all happened. It came as USS Gerald R. Ford, aircraft carrier over there, one of the worst ones, a strike group trained with Norwegian Navy on drills over there in the North Sea. Now, the Ministry of Defense confirmed it was an operation, not an exercise. 2 different things. Operation, exercise. Threat, promise. That's how you have to see it. However, a lot of critics are saying this is a bunch of hogwash and more display of NATO showing that, see, they're in control. They should be feared. So there you have it. So just more war games, nothing much to know, learn. And I'm telling you, there is a blockade of what's happening in this world. I can feel it. I can sense it as someone who covers this daily. Continuing. Well, guess who's back? Our favorite North Korean. And the only North Korean we pretty much know at this point now. Now, this is a stunning reemergence to the world stage now as Kim Jong-un, who left us high and dry, kept us wondering, kept us guessing. Well, he's now making a bold statement saying he's now donating 100,000 troops to Ukraine as North Koreans queue up to fight for Putin. There you go. See? Fight for Putin. Well, North Korea troops claim that they're ready to jump into Putin's war in Ukraine at any moment. Put me in, coach. Give me the word, with a rough figure of 100,000 people being mentioned by military experts who are familiar with the people. Now, thousands of troops are now queuing into the blood-torn, war-torn country of Ukraine, the home of biolabs and everything that's just unpleasant, to fight on the front lines for Putin. Now, previously, Kim Jong-un had sent forces over there to Kursk, that region, who carried out a successful mission in the Kursk region. Now, according to an expert who is definitely familiar with North Korean people, more than 100,000 North Korean citizens are ready to go to Ukraine at any moment, just waiting for the call to go to the front line. Now, the latest South Korean intelligence shared that the figures with Russian military experts, they're saying that, quote, we like these numbers. They can greatly speed up many processes and do anything they want because they're North Koreans. They can perform combat missions only on the territory, they're saying, of the Russian Federation. Now, for example, in the future, they can carry out combat service to protect the state border of the Russian Federation, Kursk, Belgorod, the Bryansk regions, and that little unknown place that's right off the resting area. So there you have it. Kim Jong-un is back, and, I think the world is a better place for it. Everyone's rejoicing. And that's some World War III news, just the way we thought it would be. We're going to go to some Real Deal Politics, and then I should really scour the live chats here tonight, but let's get to some politics first, shall we? It's time. Real Deal Politics. So right off the bat, this just in. Tariff revenues, they're now adding it up over there at the Secretary of Treasury. And Secretary Bessent is now saying we're on our way to $1 trillion. $1 trillion with a T. That's right. Tariff revenue is about to reach, they're saying, $500 billion with a B, which might get us to the T. Well, it's quite confusing, isn't it? Check this out. Let's hear Secretary Bissett tell us himself, because this is a game changer.
And I think we're going to see a bigger jump from August to September. So I think we could be on our way well over $500 billion, maybe towards the $1 trillion number. This administration, your administration, has made a meaningful dent in the budget deficit. The average budget deficit during this term is 26% less than the last 12 months under Biden. And even the CBO, and we don't agree with CBO on everything, as you said, last Friday, on a summer Friday, had to admit that they believe over the next 10 years, the budget deficit will be $4 trillion lower than they had previously scored. $4 trillion, $3.3 trillion of tariff income, $700 billion of lower interest costs, and I would expect that number could go up from here. So, Mr. President, your return to the White House marked the return of the American worker. Thank you for reclaiming Labor Day for the American people. You're growing the economy.
Yeah, that is a huge, stunning turn of events, is it not? We could truly have a white Christmas after all. I mean, that's a job creator, isn't it? Very, very interesting. We'll make sure we follow that developing story now. Here's another developing story, or an investigation rather, that's now underway with the wind turbines. I don't know if you have these in your state, and for the life of me, I could not understand the insistence during the Obama years to put them virtually all over Texas, all over California, not to mention how many birds they kill, not to mention how some of them just sit there static. What a waste of money. There has to be an investigation. It makes no sense to me. Well, that's exactly what's now underway, as now the Trump administration launches a national security probe of wind turbines. Yes, not turbines, close, but turbines. Now, the Trump administration has launched a national security investigation into imported wind turbines and components, potentially paving the way for additional tariffs. Now, this move, announced just days ago by the U.S. Department of Commerce, adds to the ongoing trade tensions, debate over domestic manufacturing and national security. Yes, it does. Now, here's some key points that what we know so far. Well, the U.S. Commerce Department has initiated the probe, and probing is now underway. And there are a lot of people who need that probing because they have a lot of money laundering invested into these turbines. Now, the probe could lead to tariffs of up to 50% on these imports. Now, the investigation is part of the administration's broader campaign against wind energy. Although the wind industry is heavily dependent on imports, with significant components coming now from Mexico, our dear friends from the South, our dear friends from the North, Canada, and our dear friends from the Far East, China. So you put those three into just one blender, and you have super China, because you have China and Canada, you have China and Mexico, then you have China within China. So that's a lot of Chinese imports. And finally, the move adds to the other headwinds facing the wind industry, including tax credit phase-outs and, yes, regulatory reviews, which I find very, very boring. I hate when I have to go through that myself. Now, continuing now, that brings us to this. Well, financial aid for all. I'm not sure that works that way. Well, unless you are going to university in Illinois, well, then it does work that way. Yes, it does. Yeah, that weird state of Illinois it's all some kind of weirdness, isn't it? Well, now the Illinois opens financial aid to all residents, legal or not. How's that fair? Including illegals. Now, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed a new law allowing all Illinois residents, including undocumented immigrants, to apply and receive state financial aid for college, such as grants, scholarships, whether they can read or not. That's not our concern at the moment. That's what he's saying. Now, this change works alongside a new, quote, one-click college admit program that simplifies the college admissions by automatically accepting students based solely on their GPA, removing traditional application barriers. Now, conservative lawmakers and critics are furious like never before. Some say violent and some say homicidal. Now, calling a law, quote, a slap in the face to citizens and legal residents, they argue it's irresponsible to spend scarce taxpayer money on people in the country illegally, especially when the state has existing debt and many families struggle with college costs. Now, critics worry the law will strain the state's budget. Funding aid for a new large group of students could mean less money for every student. The move also solidifies Illinois' status as the leader in progressive policy, but also makes it testing ground for highly divisive ideas on immigration and education. Is that really progressive policy, or is that just called treason? I don't think progressive people would like to take that claim, would they? I'm not sure they would. Anyways, that is, it just goes to show you how the backwards logic of the brunt end of communism really never went away in Chicago. It is a crime state. And finally, here in Real Deal Politics, hello, I'm woke. Well, now, that's a phrase you probably don't hear as much as you used to in years past. No, that's true. Well, now there's a think tank that has now come out with a new report for Democrats. A think tank is now urging Democrats to drop woke vocabulary to win over voters. Well, I don't know if you needed to be a think tank to come up with that solution, but in this case, a left-leaning think tank has urged Democrats to stop using 45 terms that alienate voters, including privilege, microaggression, biopic, and also they've warned them to just stop with the treason. Now, the terms are broken down in categories such as therapy speak, seminar room language, organizer jargon, and gender orientation, correctness, racial constructs, and, quote, explaining away crime. Now, Third Way highlights the Kentucky governor over there, Andy Bashar, a former transportation secretary, former transportation secretary, Pete Buttigieg, yes. Alfred E. Newman, that's how I know him. And Arizona Senator Ruben Galileo. Wow, what a trio that is. Andy Bashar, Pete Buttigieg, and Ruben Galileo are examples of effective communicators in the Democrat Party. So yeah, there it is. The memo argues that this language makes Democrats sound extremely divisive, extreme, elitist, pissed off, annoyed, untouchable. Doesn't work well or play well with others, and obstructionist, which can alienate potential supporters. Yeah, that's true. I would say so. The think tank emphasizes the need for authentic communication to build a broader coalition and win the hearts and minds of those who vote. End of story. Well, yes. Yeah, end of woke. How much did they pay for that peer review study? I wonder. We're going to take a quick break here. When we get back, we're going to get into our feature story that takes us to Australia, and some weird bizarreness now happening down there, as the march to war may not be so prevalent right here in the U.S. or Canada or anything of that nature with Iran, but right now it's beginning to boil in the most unlikely place called Australia. We're going to tell you why that is as you're watching World at War, the #1 late night show here that's still shadow banned 4 years in the running. I can't believe it. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this quick message. Well, Kim Jong-un is now crying in front of thousands of women. Dear leader, I should say, Kim Jong-un has hosted a national mothers meeting, which, by the way, I'm planning on doing the same thing myself. I'll let you know more about that. Amid the decline of the birth rate, well, now forecasts suggest that the country could fall of 2 million people, just all the way down to 2 million people by 2070. Well, the North Korean dear leader, the very emotional and sensitive Kim Jong-un, yes, he's now crying, shedding some tears on women to have more children. No, not with other men. Him. Don't get any big ideas there. Well, saying that it was their duty and stop being selfish, that the country's declining birth rate is because of them. They're not putting out enough, he's saying. And he's seemingly highly choreographed emotional plea, which is just brilliant, if you ask me. The so-called authoritarian leader was seen dabbling his eyes with a handkerchief while addressing thousands of women gathered at the National Mothers Meeting in Pyongyang just this past Sunday. Well, here's a quote: preventing a decline in birth rate and good child care are all of our housekeeping duties. We need to handle while working with mothers, the emotional Kim Jong-un said. I'm just getting a little emotional myself reading this. He goes out of his way to do this. At least we could join him. Let's all get our Kleenex out and all have a big cry with Kim Jong-un, who is really going on a limb for us. And ladies, maybe we can all learn something. Here it is.
양심이고 혁명의 미래를 떠밀고 나갈 새 세대들의 대우를 튼튼히 꾸리는데 이바지하려는 숭고한 국민적 자각이라고 하면서 보고자는 이렇듯 고결한 인생관을 지닌 여성들의 대우가 나날이 늘어나고 있는 데 대하여 금지 높이 언급됐습니다. 혁명가의 첫 걸음도 어머니의 밧줄기에서 시작된다고 하신 김정은 동지의 말씀을 명심하고 자녀들의 첫째가는 교양자로서의 본분을 다해왔다고 하면서
He said he not happy.
자녀들의 가슴 속에 계곡 같은
He sad.
어머니들의 특출한 공적이라고
Me so honey now.
또한 자녀들을
Okay, let me just recover here. Hopefully everyone made it through that. That was one of the most emotional things. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to World at War. Yes, it's still emotional for me to see the dear leader really just show some humanity at a very vulnerable moment, and I can't help but partake in the same. Welcome back to World at War. Tonight is brought to you by the one, the only Visionaries of Debonair, the players from the Himalayas, the Iconics, not Ironics, really the Night Owls. And the Night Owls, the Real Deal Media members over there, are the fuel of the operation. They get exclusive extra content and all access all the time, anything they want. All you got to do is go to realdealmedia.tv, use your mind, and the rest will follow. But you got to free it first. Also, big thanks to everybody who has donated to Give, Send, Go for our campaign over there, Real Deal Go. You make it all worthwhile. You know who you are out there. I'm going to send some messages to all of you, too. I got to get around to that. I got to learn how to do it first. Also, this is the last week, I believe the last couple of days, of the incredible Tsunami Summer SALE. It's all there at realdealmedia.tv. Yes, it is. I love it all. I have, there's a birdie that came to my window. There's going to be a new collection coming out of specifically designed retail clothes for all of you out there. It's going to be called the Melvis Collection. Yes, the forgotten brother of Melvis Presley is, he's coming around the mountain again, not with a new album this time, but with a new clothing range. You're going to hear more about that in September. And I, for one, am excited. I talked to Colonel Tom Parker just the other night, and he's thrilled as well. I wanted to share that with you. Also, hey, this is something that landed on my desk. How about this? Well, I'll be damned. Look at that. A Cracker Barrel, they came around again and brought back the old timer sitting by their barrel. Wow. So the people pressure worked. Hey, I said from the get-go, I thought what happened to them was incredible PR because Americans love a redemption story. but also it gets their name out there, and they can revamp and welcome new patrons as well. So a kudos to Cracker Barrel. The best cold biscuits you'll ever have in your life. Okay, there's that one. All right, we have a long way to go and a short time to get there, I believe. And we have a lot of people who are watching all over the place. And yeah, don't forget, this weekend, by the way, I should do these things earlier. Saturday night is live in concert this Labor Day weekend. The Attitudes featuring Dean Ryan, remastered, remixed, remade, revisualized, and reassessed. And I think that's all the re's. Yeah, that's Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Group of guys who were playing. They said, hey, you want to fill in on organ and, the keyboards? I'm like, I don't know the songs, but what the hell? It sounds like a challenge. So you'll see me getting through that and the beautiful, incredible music we made together. So very, very, very heartfelt. So there's that one. Okay, let's now get to some Real Deal International as our feature story is just around the corner, shall we? Real Deal International. And if I didn't know any better, that could be Istanbul, Turkey, that airport right there. Okay, swig of firewater there. All right, let's get going here now as Real Deal International now takes us to our feature story of the night here. It does, or just about, but before it does, I have to pave the way with, well, sadly, an Israeli story once again. Well, now Netanyahu has issued an apology. Some call it hollow, some call it fake, some call it nothing. Well, once again, Israel has had a, quote, tragic mishap as they targeted, or accidentally, I should say, Freudian slip, targeted a hospital that killed 20 people, including a journalist. Once again, Israel has been now accused, once again, of deliberately bombing Gaza's Nazir hospital twice, including 5 journalists and first responders in a calculated double tap strike. I would show you the video, but I'm so concerned it could get me taken down. But there's no mistake. If you see the video, which I believe I have, you could see the just countless attempts, and I should say the disregard for human life in this case. I'll show it to you in a second here. Let me debate about that. Well, now more than 240 Palestinian journalists have been killed by Israel since October 23rd, or October 2023, rather, with media outlets like Al Jazeera banned and targeted to suppress the truth. Israel's so-called investigation into the attack is somewhat meaningless, as it has a long history of unpunished war crimes and lies about targeting civilians and media. Now, the West remains complicit by funding Israel's atrocities. And yes, we mean you out there, the pastors of the mega churches, the guys that get paid in Bitcoin by Rabbi Shmuley. Yes, one of the world's greatest almost villains. Yes, complicit. And now Netanyahu's hollow apologies and excuses mask Israel's true intent, erasing Palestinian voices, destroying evidence of war crimes, and ensuring no witnesses remain. That's right, because it's not a war crime if no one's alive to blow the whistle, is it? Here's what I'm talking about. Pay attention to this. These are people who came to the aid, and people are trying to help humanity, and look what happened.
مقصود لهذا الزميل الصحفي حسام المصري.
لا حصل الآن نعم. الآن خليك يا الله راح الدفاع المدني قتلوا الناس راح الدفاع المدني.
Yeah, that's what a mishap looks like, everybody. That's what a mishap looks like. Now that brings us to our main story here tonight as we now venture to Australia as World at War is now investigating. Well, Israelis down under. Yes, this is quite strange, I must say. I've never known a lot of Israelis to begin with in general in my life. Certainly we don't have that different kind of gestures of Israelis over here where I am, but certainly you don't expect that in Australia. Now, let me tell you about this now. Well, now Australia has made an accusation as it's accusing Iran of organizing, quote, anti-Semitic attacks, and their ambassador just got expelled today. What in the world is going on? Let me tell you about this now. The prime minister, who I can't even keep up, not even a lot of Australians can as well. Well, they're now accusing somebody of spying and anti-Semitic. I mean, who sounds like they're behind this? Who's authoring these charges, you might ask? Well, it's very simple, and it's a very detailed message. Well, now, in this case here, Australia accuses the ambassador of doing it over there. Is now the Australian Prime Minister himself, Anthony Albanese, has accused Iran of organizing all the things that I just mentioned. Said the country was cutting off diplomatic relations with Tehran in a response on Tuesday. Now, do you see it just at the drop of a hat of an accusation? They don't need proof. They don't need proof. They don't have to prove to the Australian people that this actually happened. Was it a mishap? Well, the Australian Security Intelligence Organization, the ASIO over there, concluded that Iran had directed arson attacks on Lewis Continental Kitchen, a kosher food company in Sydney, and on Melbourne's Adas Israel Synagogue 2 months later. Now, shortly before the announcement, the Australian government told Iran's ambassador to Australia, Ahmad Sandegi, that he will be expelled. It also withdrew Australian diplomats posted in Iran to a third country. This is all coming from the Prime Minister now. Now, an alert to the Australians in Iran noted that the embassy's closure and urged them to strongly consider leaving as soon as possible if it is safe to do so. Now, I'm wondering why this could be. What is the urgency, you might ask? Is it because they're just fed up with the Iranians? Or is it because the ceasefire between Israel and Iran is now ended, and there's now a march and a coalition that's building to have a greater war with Iran, since the Ukraine experiment didn't really work out with the Bolsheviks of today, did it? I think I'm onto something. Now, foreigners in Iran, including Australians and dual Australian-Iranian nationals, are at high risk of arbitrary detention or arrest over there in Australia. Now, Australia updated its warning to travelers to its highest level: do not travel to Iran. I would double down on that and say, do not travel to Australia. That is the most oppressive country. That New Zealand were the first two oppressive countries of the West to lock down, get the COVID camps, facilities. No, they're the ones. They're the ones, Australia. This is very strange. And don't be surprised, too, if you see now Australia posture more and more away from China, which you're going to find out in the next story why. Now, Iran's government denied the allegations, while its foreign minister Abbas called the Albanese, the alleged prime minister over there, a, quote, weak politician. I would go further saying a weak man, very weak man. Well, here's what they're saying here. This is coming out of the Canberra Woodworks over there. They're saying that, quote, Iran is paying the price for the Australian people's support for Palestine. The Abbas wrote, the ambassador of Iran. Canberra should know better than to attempt to appease a regime led by war criminals. Now, last week, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also branded Albanese over there in Australia a weak politician who betrayed Israel. That's not good. After August 11th announcement by Albanese that his government recognition of a Palestinian state would be formalized by the United Nations General Assembly in September. So not only is he a weak politician, he's bipolar too. He doesn't know what he wants. He's absolutely clueless and totally not in control. Where's Dan Andrews when you need him? Now, the dangerous acts of aggression. So they're saying, okay, so, you know, when I was there, it was 2014 Christmas going into 15. And you had the Sydney hostage siege of a gentleman, I believe, was from Iran or I think that was the case. And he happened to have taken over the Australian Broadcasting Company in downtown Sydney and had a a rifle, and you're not even allowed to say the word rifle in Australia, or somebody's going to get a nosebleed. But he managed to have one, and the authorities, wink, wink, knew all about it. And it didn't, and also was a surprise, a shocker that he went on a shooting spree in the actual TV studio that was directly across from another TV studio. So all you heard was, and you would have thought it was just him doing it, when you know damn well it was others probably shooting innocent people. Just, an Israeli mishap, as they call it back home. And here we are again. State-funded aggression. So now when we hear this, that there are some crazy nomad biker gangs and Muslims coming to a head, you don't have to look far to see who is state sponsoring these cringe, authoritarian-esque, Neanderthals, if you will, cavemen. That's right. Now, the terrorist organization now is, Albanese said, he's now falling back on the war on terror. When all fails, go back to the war on terror. Now, he's now saying that Australia will legislate to list Iran's Revolutionary Guard as a terrorist organization. Yeah, because he makes the rules. He makes it all the rules. So the national military of Iran is a terrorist organization. And the irony of that, of what we just saw in the last segment before we got to Australia with the IDF, the irony is blinding, and it's so robust, I can't even explain it. Now, the government has previously rejected calls to list the Revolutionary Guard under existing terrorism laws because it's a government entity. You can't do that. Now, Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard has been accused of carrying out the attacks abroad in the past, though it broadly denies any involvement. Yeah, the guards. So, there it is. So, in closing here, this is very key here. A spokesperson for the Executive Council of Australian Jewry welcomed the terrorist designation for the Revolutionary Guard. So there's a Jewish foundation in Australia. It's not called the Australian Jewish Foundation. It's called the Australian Jewry. It's like jewelry, but minus the L. What the hell? They also called McDonald's something very weird. It's called Macca's or something. Anyways, so the Australian Jewelries now welcomed the terrorist designation for the Guard, adding in a statement that the group was, quote, outraged that the foreign actor was behind the crimes. They were just outraged. They had no idea. Foremost, that there was a lone gunman, you go figure, foremost that these were attacks that deliberately targeted Jewish Australians, destroyed a sacred house of worship, on and on, dollars of damage. Now, let's look at the timeline here. So Australia mentions they're going to honor a two-state solution, like that was always the plan, like the rest of the world is. Australia mentions that. Next thing you know, you have Netanyahu, who's calling this weak guy a weak politician. Next thing you know, it's a lone, crazy Muslim guy shooting everybody up, and Iran's behind it. Do we see the false flags? Ladies and gentlemen, the proof is in the Vegemite, and it has Netanyahu's fingerprints all up and down the jar. Yeah, and if I were the prime minister, I would have that look on my face too. That JD Vance stink face look is exactly how he should be looking at himself right now. What a weak man. The Israelis are going to play you every which way to Saturday, the day of the Sabbath. Now, here's something very interesting. Get this now. Get this. How did this all come about? Well, now look what's coming out in the news. Israelis down under, and now they're saying Mossad is behind this. Well, was Mossad, here's the question being begged, was Mossad behind the attacks? And also, were they behind the messaging of what to do and who to designate as a terrorist organization? Well, that story has been taken down because it's true. That just got taken down right now. Anyways, but the point is, we worry about Five Eyes. Five Eyes, the intelligence agencies, are all infiltrated by Mossad. and now so is Australia. There you have that one for you all. Okay, that's, it's been a long time since we've done a Australian kind of ordeal here. We're now going to go to Real Deal Health. There's some good news just yonder. Here we go.
Paging Dr. Ryan.
Real Deal Health. Let's talk about it because I'm feeling quite healthy, aren't you? Well, now there's some new good news, I guess you could say. Good news, we'll take it. Maha insiders say the COVID-19 84, the miracle jabs, could be banned by the Trump administration within months, days, but we'll say months. This is huge news. Yes, it is. The sea change, many people would hope, never had to even be crossed. Well, they hope it's coming in this case. Now, the miracle jabs were sold to the world as the scientific triumph, a silver bullet that would end the pandemic, restore freedom, and save millions. Well, it did quite the opposite of that. You don't have to be an expert, you don't have to be a doctor, but you have to be sound-minded, and you have to have somewhat of a memory now as governments, media pundits, and pharmaceutical CEOs stood on the global stages, arms linked in unison, world leaders sitting in each other's laps, playing footsies, and having secret parties when the rest of the world was locked down. Who remembers those good old days? Now, doctors who dared to question the narrative lost their licenses and a whole lot more. Well, now that seems to be changing now as a Nuremberg trial has been rumored and whispered to be underway or just around the corner. Well, there's some key points to now take away from this whole monstrosity. As now the Trump administration is now considering phasing out the miracle jabs, the insiders who know something that's familiar with this are citing a 2022 peer review study showing that 16% higher risk of serious adverse events in the miracle jab individuals compared to placebo. Yeah, absolutely. Also worth noting, the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority now has already begun canceling the mRNA miracle jab contract, signaling a dramatic shift in the federal miracle jab policy. Well, that's great. That's great. And I'm thinking 10 steps ahead. How are we going to punish these people? How are we going to punish these people? Because it needs to be public and it needs to be pay-per-view, if not free. Now, VAERS data reveals that 38,742 reported deaths now and 1.6 million adverse events linked to the miracle jabs of life, figures that dwarf the risk of nearly every other miracle jab in its history. Now, European regulators admitted a quote, clear link between AstraZeneca's miracle jab, deadly blood clots. Yet the U.S. never issued comparable warnings. Now, natural immunity, early treatments, ivermectin, and the rest were suppressed in favor of the mass miracle jab hysteria. Despite the evidence they could have saved lives, now the pharmaceutical industry's capture of the FDA and the CDC allowed dangerous products to be fast-tracked without proper long-term safety studies. And because of that, there's going to be hell to pay, and we're going to be the ones to do it. You see, all those people who lost somebody out there, you know who they are. There's going to be hell to pay for these people. And I'm not sure it's going to be at the hand of the government. It's going to be at the hand of the real government, the people. That's how that one goes. Thank you for that. And now that brings us to something that's quite delightful and high-spirited. Well, yes, here's some really good news. New studies are out as why, and it really begs the phrase of why living near the ocean may add years to your life, while urban riverside areas do quite the opposite. And I wholeheartedly agree, very biased here. Well, living near the coast could add a year or more to your life expectancy. Urban residents near inland lakes, rivers may die sooner than average, yes. Coastal areas offer milder climates, better air quality, and more recreational opportunities, and a variety of different designs of the summer's hottest bikinis, while urban inland water areas suffer from pollution, poverty, fentanyl junkies, fewer safe spaces for activity. Environmental factors like location may play a role in America's declining life expectancy. Well, I was hoping to make it to 100, if not more, but it's kind of hard in this day and age. Well, if you ever dreamed of retiring by the beach, maybe you should, because you need to live longer. The coastal advantage is there for you. The data suggests that coastal living provides a whole plethora of different things that go well beyond weather, temperatures, but a friendlier environment because the sun makes people happier. Now, people that may not have that opportunity, well, the life expectancy, as you heard just moments ago, has been lagging behind other developed nations in pretty much how long we live. Well, this study that we're now sharing with you suggests that environmental factors like where people live may be the missing piece of the puzzle. If coastal living boosts longevity while urban inland areas do quite the opposite, could policy changes such as improving air quality, reducing pollution, creating safer green spaces help close the gap? Well, we think so. And it really begins with cleaning our water too. Cleaning our water. It needs to happen. So there is that one. And I could not agree more. I never feel like I'm lost when I'm home. And when I'm near the water and when I'm near the sand. I mean, what problems could you find when you're in that environment? I wonder. We have a lot of people here. Let's see what people are saying. Where do you live? Do the mountains have the same effect, would you think? If you lived in the cabin or the woods, the mountains, is that just as good? Let's go to Rumble here. Well, we have Kenny 59B over there in Rumble saying that schools are full of many languages and the kids can't learn. Yeah. There's foreigners that are in school, Kenny, that speak better English than some of the kids that are born here. Like for reals. I mean, the culture, the music these kids listen to today is so unexplainable. It is mind-boggling. You could take a band of from yesteryear, and a lot of the kids would know who they are. They listen to them for just decades. It's not the case anymore. It is a generational gap like never before. But yeah, good observation there. Here we have. Here's another one here. Rumble Mania over there. It's the vitamin D from the sun. Yeah, it is. Oh, isn't it ever? I've seen like old shows of myself from 2020, and man, do I look like Dracula. I mean, we were all inside. I was pale. Hair was falling out. Skin was just, it was just the worst. It was the worst. Yeah, so thank God for the sun. We have Claudina Strobella. Love the sea. I bet you do over there at Bondi Beach, right? Claudine, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Here's another one here. And I think I also had one of these things to share. Oh, this is, in regards to the UK, yes, I wanted to share this with you. Yeah, worried children warned to avoid migrants while walking home from school. Those are one of the migrant boats we all hear about. And it's even worse, everybody, but I don't want to bring the mood down. And a story I didn't really get to embellish in or really take any joy in because of the craziness of this last weekend. Well, I have to cherish it now. Yes, Michael Bolton was caught finally. The Mr. I'm the Walrus got raided, and we could just glee about it. Gleefully.
National Security Advisor John Bolton. It happened at 7 a.m. this morning.
Shortly after the raid began, FBI Director Kash Patel posting on X, quote, "No one is above the law. FBI agents on a mission."
David Spunt joins us now with more on this break. Hey, David.
Hey, guys, not much we can say at this point, but information will continue to develop. As you mentioned, about 7 o'clock this morning, FBI agents raided Ambassador Bolton's home. Notable, we're being told by two government sources that they are looking for classified documents as part of a potential.
There we go. And was that guy made of plastic, or is it just me? He looked like a Lego figurine. I don't know. So yeah. We can cherish that moment. Okay. Here is that. Yes, I'm sorry. I meant John. Dr. Detroit, thank you. Is that Michael Bolton's dad? Well, if John Bolton's son is Michael, then you know what? You would have never guessed that he had that musical talent in that family DNA. would you? Here's another one here. We have Michelle Drum. Thank you for being here. Not only that, Carnage just gave another handout to Zelensky. Yeah, well, you know, it all comes back. It's all money laundering. It's all money laundering. Here's another one here is Elizabeth Ann. Thank you for being here. Yes, go on the sunny porch. It gives you energy. You know, when I was in Virginia, I did a lot of the porch cliche hangouts. It really is a thing. I didn't know. But it is slow country, though. You got to be used to slow country. You know, I like the city. I like the beach. I like the slow country. I just like to change it up, you know, in moderation. Here is another one here. Misty, thank you for being here. When I sit out in the sun, I get blisters now. Hence the blisters in the sun. What a wonderful song that was. And yes, Palm Springs, thank you for that. And Rhonda, who is in Florida, down here in Florida, we have Alcatraz. Yeah, with the alligators. Well, Rhonda, I don't know if you saw the beginning of the show. One of our first segments is they're closing it down, or they're going to try to, you know, and what a tourist trap that would have been, literally. Unbelievable. We have Rage Against the Machine, who's never shy of an observation. Thank you for being here, Rage. Lindsey Graham has hurt feelings from Bolton borrowing his red high heels. That's right. Yeah, that's a good point, Miss Lindsey Graham. Yeah, he's just gonna have to wear his sandals for now. Finally, here we have Kenny, who's on fire. Israel fired on our USS Liberty, killed 36 and many wounded. Yeah, I know, and they don't get designated a terrorist organization. You see, because they've woven themselves into the modern Christianity teachings of today. Where they don't tell you about the Bolsheviks. No, we can't talk about that. Yes, Rebel Mama says, lies upon more lies, lies upon more lies. Yeah, okay. And then finally here, we have Frankie with our film TV biz. The ocean sands ground us like no other sand salt. I could not agree more. And yeah, Kenny, Israel loves to kill. Yeah, I know. It's terrible. And you know what's even worse about the whole Israeli equation? I'll give you a little inside scoop here. So for the longest time on Facebook and YouTube is the worst offender at that. If anyone were to mention anything that is against the narrative of miracle jabs, or even a mere alluding to, you'd be considered giving medical misinformation. You're given multiple strikes, and you would be canceled out of existence. And it had to have been that way probably for about 4 years, just about. Now, fast forward, here we are. You can totally say that now without flinching, although, you know, we have PTSD from it. Now, the new thing you can't talk about are anything that has to do with that certain country, Kenny. How about that? Or any terms of neocons or the Zionist, because that takes you down now. So that should tell you things. That's where we are in this incredible, amazing book we get to live through, isn't it? So there's a little insight for you. Okay, that's now going to bring us to this final story of some weirdness. We get to our final thought here of something that you should know about that's happening in Walmart, but don't think it's just Walmart alone and only Walmart that's doing it, but at least you'll have an idea of what's being done to trick the human mind through waves, signs, sounds, and light. Pay attention to this little quick thing here, and you'll be better off for it.
If you shop at Walmart, your experience is about to get 10 times worse. I'm sorry. Basically, they're switching all their lights, their fluorescence, to 10,000 Kelvin. Now, you may not know what that means. 10,000 is the coolest, bluest artificial light that we have. It's not natural. It's not in the natural light spectrum. It's terrible. When we're in 10,000 Kelvin light, it makes us anxious. It literally puts us into fight or flight mode, triggering the amygdala. So when you're in fight or flight mode, you can't make rational decisions because all decisions in your brain are made with the amygdala, which is the fight or flight, fear, all that part of the brain. this is on purpose and intentional because if you can't make rational decisions, then A, you're going to be a very fast shopper because you're anxious and your body is like screaming at you to get out of whatever unnatural space that is that has the 10,000 Kelvin lights. And then 2, it means you're going to overspend because you're not going to be logically making purchases. You're just going to grab things because your heart rate's going to be increased. You're not making good decisions. So basically, if you didn't like going to Walmart before, you're really not going to like it now. I feel bad for the employees who have to work.
Well, yeah, the more you know, right? The more you know. So that's how that one goes. And finally, God, I forgot this. Our final story. All the promises there is now just this: Burning Man's deadly winds. The deadly dust bloom. Yeah, it's now heading to the event. Just to share a thing or two with you. It's now affecting something called the Burning Man Orgy Dome. Has now been completely destroyed by the winds that's now plaguing Phoenix, is now making its way throughout Nevada as we speak. Devastation like never before. People who have tried to monitor it, they can't seem to get a good shot. And here's some of the effects of it. Yeah, as you can see there. And nobody could get video. Nobody could give a true weather forecast of just exactly what that entails until tonight. I took some time. I went to Burning Man for all of you out there to give you a real heads up of just exactly what is the weather like over there. In fact, here's a little report I put together as we close the night out in Burning Man fashion. It's insanely hot. This is Dean Ryan here with your real deal forecast, because it's some real deal weather. Well, today's weather forecast is burgeoning and merging into hell on Earth itself. Incredible. We have unusual fires beginning in the northern part, right near the sharks of Maine, that are just eating everybody and really just gunning for the Canadians. We have a very hot current flow coming through the left, right. It makes the Gulf of America and or Mexico just seem like a little mid-afternoon breeze. It is plenty hot enough for a forest fire, a man-made fire, or even just a unnatural fire at this point. It's really extremely scorching. Yeah, we also have no signs of any breeze or any just cool winds coming our way at all here on the West Coast. We have an unusual swirl of hurricanes that are swarming and swirling around the volcano activity right on the fault lines of the San Andreas Fault over there in California, but I just know it's not my fault. So further news about the weather changes, this is Dean Ryan with the Real Deal Media weather forecast. Final thoughts here tonight. It's scorching, sweating, damn near melting, dying, but still living. Final thoughts here as we end tonight's Israelis Down Under. We learn something new every time, as the Burning Man edition tells us and teaches us. It is... Yeah, I'm constantly burning calories doing this show, I must say. It is that hot. And the reason being is it's all man-made, as we know. We've seen it. We've seen everything they can throw at us. But when it's this quiet, when we can't find what's happening in these run-ups and these build-ups and the march to war, it is a little concerning and a little unsettling. But nonetheless, I think we're prepared for whatever, whoever, and wherever they want to throw down at us. And that is the one takeaway, even if it's the weak politician man over there in Australia. You think his people respect him? I don't think so. Never. Final thought. That is, okay, quick little show notes here. Don't forget, I will reoccur. I'll be back here, I think, Thursday with a guest of sorts. I'll let you know and fill you in on that. Don't forget this Saturday, you're going to want to see the live in concert, The Attitudes, featuring Dean Ryan, and some incredible improvisational classic music with ambiance like never before. Surprises, you're going to love that. Saturday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. And the big one here, don't forget this one, mark your calendars, the big debate, 9/11 debate. Yes, between Jim Fetzer versus Richard Gage. Were there planes versus someone who thinks there was not, versus someone who thinks there was thermite, versus someone who thinks it was nuclear. I mean, it's going to be crazy. And then you're going to see Richard, I believe, Tuesday, make a presentation for this audience, and you'll see Jim on Thursday. And then we have our big debate that coming Saturday, so you don't want to miss that. Yeah, I'll be moderating that incredible evening for you. So, okay, for all of us here in this very, very, very blazing weather here at World at War, I'm Dean Ryan, and it is, we can only go up from here, right? I will be back, I believe, Thursday. Until next time, always remember to stay tuned and stay awake. Good night, everybody. See you soon.